Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are going to a forgotten land to find Kirby, the little pink gumball monster that stars in many of the titular Kirby games. And joining me to discuss Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, I'm joined as always by Vor enthusiast Pete Busby.
I do not like the new direction my persona has taken on this podcast, but I'll do whatever the team needs. I only have one question about this game. I want to know when Kirby and the Waddle Dees became friends. In my day, they were mortal enemies. I don't know when this shift happened, but I'm sure we'll find out. This week's fun fact is about dragonflies, one of my most hated of bugs. This comes from a New Scientist. So apparently, a specific dragonfly, the moorland hawker dragonfly, the female will play dead in order to avoid mating. So, male dragonflies come along and these female dragonflies are just like, ugh, not even, and play dead. So the reason they do this is because multiple copulations, using the scientist's term, could damage the female dragonfly. So what they do is they just sort of fly along, and when males come along, they play dead in midair and fall out of the sky.
Oh!
Yeah. Yes. They only do this, though, because it's dangerous if male harassment is intense. So I guess, when they're up in the Dragonfly Club or the gym or any number of other public spaces.
That is a pretty good high-level move if you're being harassed by someone hard enough. Like, if you get catcalled, just drop to the ground.
Just plummet out of the sky to your seeming death.
Just flop.
If I could fake it well enough, I would do that all the time.
I don't think it would work on humans. They'd be like, yeah, she's so into me, she fainted. That's how good my game is.
Damn girl, I caught you. That other voice you heard is M. Palladino. Hello, M.
Hello. It's been a while since I played a Kirby game. They're exactly the same as you remember, except now they're in 3D.
And there are upgrades.
And there are other things. We'll talk about it. Also, I finished a book.
Yay!
Yay, thank
you. Good work.
I wrote a book. I finished my first draft like a couple of days ago, and then I heard back from a contest where it's in the top 5.
Nice!
So thank you. I'm very excited.
Okay, is this something we can vote on?
Huh?
Like, does it encourage voting?
No.
Boo.
This is the Right Hive Writers Convention that's going to be on Discord. If you are interested in writing anything, it's a sweet little group. So they're a nonprofit, and if I get picked, I will get $500, and I would not say no to that.
That sounds excellent. If there's two things I love, it's books and not making profit.
Yeah. Yep. So, see if I can get this going in the right direction with that.
Pete's an editor.
Are you?
It's true. I am. Semi-professional,
Really?
I guess.
We'll talk about your rates at the end of this.
Yeah, I can say, having worked with Pete on some of my articles and works, Pete's a very good editor.
Okay. Well, I'm in the market, so be in touch.
Well, before we get into Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, reminder you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And if you were to do so, you would get access to our Discord, where you can learn such hot facts as M's book being done, and you could have been up to date on the happenings therein. You can, harangue us to record an NBA show, which is out. So if you wanted to know how our NBA takes went for 2022 season, the awards and all of our predictions, you can see there. Pete, I re-listened to that just to see how bad our takes were. Not terrible. We were wrong about both of the series, though.
We were, but we were right to be skeptical of the Suns.
Yes.
We were just a little too early.
Yes,
or too late.
I really should have just been all in on slandering them like I was last year. I should have just leaned in on that, just haterizing them. But boy, oh boy.
Wait. What happened?
So
I know that something very bad happened, but I only saw it like third hand through Twitter.
Yeah, so the Phoenix Suns were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They were predominant favorites to make the finals, and they are playing against a team with basically one amazing player and a bunch of just kind of good players. And in the Game 7 of the series, which is the last game of the series, whoever wins that wins it all, they lost by almost 40 points. Basically, every single player on the Suns roster turned into pumpkins simultaneously.
Is that a wide margin for a basketball game?
It
Yes.
was the largest margin in Game 7, second largest maybe? I know they scored the least amounts in the first half in like 40 years or something.
Let me put it to you this way, Em. The Phoenix Suns in the first half had 27 points, and
Okay.
the star player of the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, had 27 points.
Oh,
So
I see.
one player had as many points as their entire team, and the 40-point margin kind of undersells how much of a beating it was because the Dallas Mavericks pulled all of their starters for the last quarter of the game.
Yikes.
Yeah. It was grim. They're going to have a come to Jesus moment this offseason.
It was incredible. As someone who just has disliked the Suns basically have never beaten a healthy team in the playoffs. They have only beaten teams, like mortally wounded teams, and they just talked so much shit. They were so proud of themselves, and they were pounding their chests and giving interviews that were hilarious because they had won nothing of value. And it was pretty great to see them, come into the postseason and then run into a dude. Like, they were making fun of the best player on the Mavericks after Game 2. And he responded to that by saying, everyone's real tough when they're up. And then he proceeded to murder them. Every shot he made, he laughed and just smiled.
Jeez.
Also, if nothing good ever happened to Robert Sarver again, that'd be just fine with me.
That's also
He's
true.
the Suns owner, and he's terrible.
Yeah, an article came out at the very beginning of the season kind of documenting a long-term pattern of harassment and mismanagement and just a bunch of misconduct by the billionaire owner of the Suns. And he's basically been out of the public eye ever since. But we remember. And it's nice when bad things happen to the Suns. So fuck off, Phoenix Suns. But with that, I think it's time to go towards the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord report is basically everything Gino just said. Is there anything else of
There's a lot of good
interest?
slander. It seems one of the Bashos, the big sumo competitions, is underway. So there's been discussion in wrestling, which I think you have the wrestling channel muted, Em.
I do. So I have that and the basketball channel muted because I do not know anything about sport.
Are any of the Yokozunas facing retirement?
Not that I know of. They've been using proper names, and I don't know enough about sumo. But if you want to hear more about sumo, you could probably hear that on Off the Deep End. We also had some more folks go see Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think we got one lukewarm review and one that movie was great review. So I think you're still in good hands if you take my obsession of last podcast.
We also managed to sell someone on a game, which
did.
rarely happens.
A game we played?
A game we played.
Wow.
The last game we played, actually. Jeff, a host of Off the Deep End, has bought About an Elf, which he is irony poisoned as some of us are, pointing at myself. So might not be as big a deal as most, but
Yeah, I was gonna
yay.
say, as soon as he bought that game, I was like, yeah, that seems like your brand. That seems right. I mean, for the GBCR one year, he dressed up as Shrek and painted his face green and, like, you know, did Mimi things. I was like, yeah, you should play about an elf. This seems like it's for you.
Are there any recordings of that?
You'd have to ask Jeff. I don't know if he archives his streams, but I think he was wearing a fishnet top, and then also had Shrek face paint. That might be two different years that I'm conflating, but all I'm saying is about an elf definitely seems up the alley.
If I can find Jeff in Shrek makeup, I'm going to make that one of the Discord emojis.
You should do that.
Just saying.
Yeah. So definitely, I think there's been fun. There's been fun in the Discord, and there's definitely been a lot of nice slander in the basketball channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see, Pete, what Patrick Beverley did after Chris Paul got eliminated in the playoffs?
I did, and I enjoyed it a lot.
So, Patrick Beverley he's a point guard. He has been openly distasteful for Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time, who's currently in the NBA. And at 6 a.m, the day after the Suns got eliminated, he basically went on an ESPN car wash, going from show to show to show, shit talking Chris Paul. It was incredible.
Nice.
It was incredible.
Amazing.
Just giving interviews saying no one in the league is scared of Chris Paul. You know what we call him? We call him Cone Paul. Because we dribble right around him like a traffic cone.
Damn. Kill him.
It was great. It was amazing. At one point he was like, I was talking to another player, and I'm not going to say who it is, but he said that, Chris Paul isn't shit. I'm not going to say who it is. Okay, you know what? I'll say who it is. It was Paul George, who's an all-star player. Just name-dropping people. It was incredible. Just a tour de force. Also, Pat Bev, maybe kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Truly.
Pat Bev is definitely a jerk.
Definitely a jerk. Definitely does not have any standing to make fun of any dominant player. Has, I think, averaged 10 points for his career. He's a career role player. And it is but I'm here for it. Anytime you can take shots at Chris Paul, I'm here for it. And that is my obsession of the week, by the way, is all of the different people trolling Chris Paul. He punches people in the nuts, repeatedly. He's done this so many times. And every year when he gets eliminated from the playoffs, we learn about a new injury that he apparently had and didn't tell anyone about until after he lost. Every year. I was like, well, I wonder, he started playing badly after the second game, which means either he's old or there's an injury. But either way, he's going to say there's an injury. He's literally, I don't think, gotten through a single playoff run without getting hurt.
Uh-huh.
And this was no exception.
Yep, no exception. This time he says it was his hamstring.
Injured?
He said it was his hamstring, I think, or quad. A leg, lower body injury. But yeah, it was it's yet another year and yet another early Chris Paul exit from the playoffs. So that's fun. So, without further ado, let's discuss Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. Why don't you set us up? What is Kirby and the Forgotten Lands?
Kirby and the Forgotten Lands is a Switch game by Nintendo, obviously.
I've heard of them.
You might know of Nintendo. HAL Laboratory, they make the Kirby games. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands is a Kirby game where Kirby is sent to a forgotten land through a wormhole thingy, a star-shaped hole in space, and then he needs to suck up stuff, fight little fox things, turn into a car at some points. That's basically the whole thing. The Waddle Dees have been captured. He's trying to get them back.
Yeah, it's basically the Mario Odyssey formula.
Yes.
Like they
Yeah.
took Mario, they dropped him into a world full of people, normal humans. This is Kirby dropped into, I guess, kind of like the Splatoon universe, like post-apocalyptic
Yeah, it
worlds.
seems like they have like New York City, but it's been overgrown with like stuff. It's unclear where exactly we are, but we know that there are cars and there's an amusement park. Seems to be, yeah, there's a mall. Seems like it is our world, but like something went wrong.
Does anyone else feel like this Kirby game is an environmentalist narrative?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I think it's an allegory about invasive species, but it sort of derails because Kirby is also an invasive species, but he solves all the problems.
Yeah. He solves all the problems with the power of consumption.
That's what the environmental movement needs. More consumption.
Conspicuous consumption. Yeah, this is, oh boy, this game,
That's a great title for this episode, Kirby and the Conspicuous Consumption.
yes, for sure.
Should we do a quick roundup? What's the last Kirby game everyone played?
Oh god. I gotta look at a list of Kirby games, hold on.
Yeah, I already did, so I'll go first. I'm cheating a little bit. The last one I played was Kirby, I think it's Kirby and the Mystic Mirror for the Game Boy Advance, released in 2004.
Does this not count when we played Kirby 64 for the podcast?
Yeah, I didn't count that. One, because I forgot it happened,
We did.
because we all did it.
I played more recently Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance.
Sorry, I got the title wrong. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. You can tell how much of an impact it had on me.
I think the most recent Kirby game was Kirby Squeak Squad, which is 2006.
I also have Kirby Squeak Squad. That game's fine.
Still forever ago. And apparently they've been making a lot of them, and I have not known about any of them.
Yeah, and I think Kirby, much like the Pokemon series, like whenever you left, when you come back, it's like, yeah, this is more of that for the most part. Epic Yarn was different and kind of fun, but that was kind of weird because Kirby is. Have either of you played Epic Yarn or seen Epic Yarn?
No.
He's like
it's
literally yarn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's like made of yarn. It's a Wii game. That's all I know about it.
Yeah, and Kirby, like, when you suck stuff up, he doesn't get powers. He just, like, turns them into their bits because they're yarn. So he, like, pulls the string and then they fall apart and their inside bits fall out. And
Oh god,
yeah, it's messed
that's
up.
terrifying.
And when he, like, eats some of these things, they'll just, like, turn into a little tight ball of yarn and then he'll shoot them out instead of turning them into a star. But the world plays by yarn rules, so like if there's a button, you can pull on the button and then it'll tighten the canvas behind it, or like, you pull on a thread and it causes part of the stage to fall down because you pulled a thread loose. It's really cute. It doesn't obey normal Kirby rules, but it is very cool.
Is there like the subgenre of yarn-based games? Because we played Unraveled a while ago.
And Yoshi's
And-
Woolly World.
Yeah, there's like a theme.
Little Big Planet. I think basically for a few years, like a good 5-year run, arts and crafts stuff was very in. And Kirby's Epic Yarn fell directly in the middle of that. As far as I'm concerned, the greatest thing to come out of that brief time period was the Yoshi amiibo that was made of wool.
Oh yeah, that one's cute. They still have those all the time. They're just like left over from that. Which is, it's adorable.
Totally.
What-
It's soft. It's not plastic.
Yeah. How can you
Yeah,
go wrong?
honestly, I wish I knew how to crochet and could make stuff like that. I can knit, but I don't know, that's not as cool as far as I'm concerned.
That's true. That's not as cool. So this game is not Kirby's Epic Yarn. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. Like you said, Kirby has just kind of dropped into a more realistic setting, but this is basically Kirby rules apply. If there's an enemy, you can eat them. If they've got though in this game, if they've got a power, you get their power. If they don't have a power, you can't like just swallow them whole. You have to spit them out, which is lame. I enjoyed in previous Kirby.
I think that's usually Kirby rules, right?
Well, I thought Kirby can usually, even if you don't get a power, you could just eat the dude just to eat him.
Oh, no, I think you usually spit him out as a star.
I mean, the productive thing to do is spit them out as a star.
True.
But if you just want to, Kirby's hungry. Kirby got to eat. If you want to eat that Waddle Dee, you just can. But yeah, I just noticed that when I pressed down, I was not just consuming the tiny little foxes and stuff that run around this world. And it's a 3D game, so most Kirby games are 2D. This one is 3D, full 3D movement. It does impose some I don't say odd, I'd say the way that you jump and hover behaves a little differently because you're in 3D instead of 2D. There's a ceiling to which you can hover, and that maximum height is relative to how high you are off the ground, like the lowest part of the floor underneath you is. So if you are hovering and there's a ledge way, way, way above you, you probably can't hover up to it without jumping onto 2 steps first, and then you can hover up. So they try to impose some platformery rules to make it so that Kirby doesn't just violate any and all platforming, and you also can't hover forever. You eventually run out of air and have to come to the ground. But everything else is pretty standard Kirby. So how do we feel the Kirby formula holds up in the year 2022, Pete?
I'll be honest, I thought this might have been one of the best Kirby games I've ever played. I think all Kirby games are the same. It's not saying too much, I guess. But the shift to 3D, I thought they executed really well. You know what I mean? Like, especially with Kirby, he sort of breaks traditional platforming rules because you can float.
Yep.
So, like, a lot of the Kirby fun becomes sort of finding those, like, extra little nooks and crannies. And I feel like this game did a really good job of that.
Yes. Nintendo's so damn good at this. Just hiding little trinkets and things in plain sight that, they leave one coin that kind of says, oh, why don't I walk towards this coin? And then, oh, there's a whole other section of the level over here. Like, this game does it beautifully.
They've got it down to a science now. It's like a lot of just wandering around and exploring their environments in this one. You'll come across like little scenes too, often. Like sometimes the little foxes and stuff that you come across will like kind of lead you in directions that secrets are in. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like when there's like little rooms and people are having a little party or something or hanging out by a pool, and then you eat them.
And then you come in and fuck everything up, because that's what Kirby does.
Yep. How did you feel about the breadcrumb sort of design in this? Did you feel it was standout? Did you feel it was pretty by the books at this point?
I liked it. I mean, as I was playing, I was like, I think I'm too old for this game, was my takeaway. Because even playing on there's like a harder mode, I forget what they call it. But I was like, it doesn't seem like it's terribly difficult. So it gave a lot of room to just wander around and explore. Which if you have a 3D game like this, you kind of want to be a little loose with the level design and all that. So I thought it was good. I cannot disparage it at all. It's like I said, Nintendo knows what they're doing as far as since Nintendo Odyssey. No,
Mario Odyssey,
Mario Galaxy, all those kind of had the same thing. So I'm down.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed every time the little breadcrumbs led me somewhere. It always felt relatively organic, and I felt a little pat on the back. And they gave you a bunch of little goals. So, the goal of every level is to free 3 Waddle Dees in a cage, which, it's got some Rayman to it, with the little floating cages full of dudes. And there are 3 Waddle Dees you get just for beating the level. There are usually 3 to 5 hidden Waddle Dees that are kind of strewn throughout the level, kind of off-beaten paths, behind buttons, behind little challenge rooms. And then there will be usually 3 or 4 Waddle Dees you get for just doing stuff in the level. So, like, sometimes there's a wanted poster in the level, and knocking it down will, unlock this kind of hidden achievement, and that'll get you a Waddle Dee. And if you beat the level and you do not get all of those secrets, it will reveal one of the secrets to you, so you can know what to do for next time, which is just nice design.
I did find that, like, I didn't like it as much, that it was, like, sort of, if you were an achievement hunter, you kind of have to go in and intentionally do a lot of these things. And I wasn't super about, like, having my itemized list of, like, find joy in opening all of the tulips or something. It seemed like, you want these to be discovered organically, and then having them handed to you is like, I don't know, it wasn't for me, I think.
Yeah, I that makes sense. I mean, it is something that if you have played a lot of these games, you don't necessarily need it. It feels a little bit hand-holdy. And you don't need all of the Waddle Dees. Like, you can just get through these levels. You only need, like, a bare minimum of Waddle Dees. It'd be hard for you to not get enough to open up the boss levels. And most of the stuff that you get for finding Waddle Dees is in Waddle Dee Town, which grows as you find more and more Waddle Dees. Did you enjoy any of the stuff in Waddle Dee Town, Em?
Yeah, it's cute. I didn't hang out there too often.
Did you do any of the mini games?
You had to do the fishing.
I did do some of the fishing.
Oh, hell yeah.
The fishing is fun. I mostly went back to Waddle Town to do the upgrade thing. But which mini games did you guys like? I'll
Fishing.
go back and...
Hell yeah, fishing.
Besides the fishing.
Kirby's an angler.
The meal one was pretty good too. I mean, you just they come up, they make their order, and you just pick one of 2 to 4 items. I mean, I got through it all and never did it again, but I did play long enough to beat all the levels.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. I think those are really the only ones I really interacted with all that much. I talked to the Waddle Dee who tells you about statistics that people are using in the levels, and that was fine. I didn't interact much with the item purchasing. I did a little bit of the little figurine collection. That was fun. So this game has a Brave Fencer Musashi-esque tiny collectible toy system, which I really appreciated. Did any of you look at the little trophies with Kirby?
Yeah, that's fun.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if they give me a...
It'll have, like, the little figure on the table and then gigantic Kirby looking at it.
Just smiling.
Just so happy to be looking at stuff. It's so cute.
Kirby looking at a model of Kirby. Just
Yeah,
loving it.
I like too. One of my favorite things about Kirby is that Nintendo created this mascot that doesn't talk, and when they made the move to 3D, they avoided the impulse to give him an ethnically stereotypical voice.
What a missed opportunity.
I know. I appreciate that forbearance, honestly.
You think they should have or should not have?
No, I agree with their decision not to. I'm not
see.
sure what ethnic stereotype you would have went for with Kirby. No
Bada
choice.
bing!
Rastafarian.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
Right choice.
Oh. Is this
Valley Girl Kirby.
That'd be fun. But still doesn't say anything. Just says, Poyo. But in the Valley Girl accent.
A Poyo.
A Poyo. A Poyo.
Nintendo's gonna have us murdered.
I mean, that was always going to happen.
Eventually.
Yeah. I feel like we might have... So we talked about the upgrades. You can go... All of your powers in this game that you can get can be upgraded. You'll find blueprints in levels. They'll be kind of hidden, generally speaking. And they will allow you to upgrade many of the traditional Kirby powers. I don't think there are any powers in this game that haven't been in other Kirby games. But the upgrades are pretty different.
The upgrades are very nice because a lot of them sort of shift, at least in some respects, what the power does. And that it sort of heads off my only criticism, which I feel like Kirby games, the fun of a Kirby game varies proportionally to the amount of powers you have. And compared to some other Kirby games, this one has a sort of more limited subset of powers. But the upgrades give it a little extra mileage, which is nice.
Yeah, I find that my enjoyment of Kirby games is directly proportional to the amount of times I can be UFO Kirby.
Oh, that is a strong power.
You must really hate this game.
Yeah, it was a real bummer when there was no UFO Kirby.
I mean, there is a Space Ranger.
That's true.
I love Space Ranger Kirby so much.
I did miss Kirby's animal companions as well, too. They don't show up in a lot of games, but I always like it when they do.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, Kirby. Yeah, there's an owl, there's a fish, there's a hamster, there's a cat. Kirby can ride them. Yeah.
They're great.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Rick the hamster is great.
Mm-hmm. He's one of the best ones. The owl's good too. And when like Kirby interacts with them, his powers change based on like which one he's with, which is also cool.
Yeah.
This must be a later Kirby.
That was I think late Super Nintendo
Yeah,
Kirby.
It was Nintendo. They did it for one of the might have been the Game Boy games, or at the very least GBA.
But yeah, you should see the owl and then Kirby plus Rock plus Owl. Like there's a lot of fun little combos like that. And also in Kirby 64, Rock plus Cutter was Kirby became a rock and then it sculpted into a statue. And most of the statues I think all of the statues were his animal companions.
They were. Yeah, that was the N64 version, the like big thing was combining powers. So you could get two and sort of shift them together to make something new.
Yeah, so like in this game, go ahead, Em.
I was going to ask, I was wondering as I was playing this one, has there been upgrades to powers or is that a new thing?
Not true upgrades. This is, I think, a net new thing.
Yes, as far as I know it is.
Gotcha.
What did we think of the upgrades? So I think some of them were more cosmetic than others.
Mm-hmm.
Like lava fire versus regular fire, I didn't notice a huge difference, but usually the level 3
Dragonfly you did though. Yeah.
Was huge.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them too, they got a lot of sort of mileage of like, a lot of Kirby's powers are mobile, and they got a lot of mileage out of like, oh, you leave a trail of things that can damage enemies. Like there were 4 or 5 powers at least that did that, which I mean gets a little boring. But overall I felt, at the very least, the jump from 1 to 3 was significant and interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And what did you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Some of the like tier 2 things aren't as huge, but then once you get to tier 3, that's when you get like I wonder if it's like an increase in power. Does it kill things faster if you are a Space Ranger as opposed to regular Ranger?
So for Dragonfire, for example, I don't believe regular fire set enemies on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Dragonfire, it left a damage over time on bosses. So if you tagged them with Dragonfire, they'd be lit on fire and you wouldn't have to hit them again for a little while. It also gave you a double dash in the air, so you could be really mobile in the air. Like it felt like a legitimately different game almost when I was controlling Dragonfire because it had so much more mobility than most Kirby abilities do. Then some of them, like the Spike to Tier 2 Spike, which is kind of the Spike ability from Kirby 64, where you've got like a cactus and a protractor and other sharp things coming out of you. Those behave pretty much the same, except the second tier just lets you roll up enemies and then throw them when you turn the power off. So like some of them were huge, some of them felt like, tier 2 of the digging just like shot a projectile when you emerged from the ground. Which wasn't that big of a difference. Oh, I think digging was actually if it wasn't a net new power, it was close.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing digging before. We did lose one of my favorite powers though.
Laser beam?
Well, 2 actually. I'll do 2 that we've lost that I always liked. I always liked Umbrella Kirby. Simple power, but I enjoyed it, especially because he floated. The other power I always loved that we didn't have was Wheel Kirby, where he would just turn into a wheel and roll along real fast. Granted, we replaced it slightly with Car Kirby.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. A power we lost that I liked.
Yeah, I like Backdrop or Kung Fu Kirby. Throw Kirby.
Kung Fu Kirby's a good one, too, yeah. Throw Kirby. They're both good.
Violent Kirby.
Man. I want to play an old Kirby now.
They're good. They're very good. I did like that they kept some of the like isolated arena fights against bosses,
Mm-hmm.
which were always some of my favorite bits. But one of the other net new things is mouthful mode. Pete, as our vor expert, why don't you tell us about mouthful mode?
Never gonna live it down.
I know. Well, look, I'm happy we have some vor representation on the podcast finally.
Finally.
Representation matters, you know?
It was really a
It was an oversight. Yeah, it
for
was
so
an
long.
I can't tell you all the emails I've been suppressing, begging for us to have vor and more vor content.
So mouthful mode, Kirby, as he's wont to do, sucks in these big sort of real world objects and basically takes on the shapes and properties of the object he consumes. So when he eats a car, he becomes Car Kirby. When he eats a traffic cone, he becomes Traffic Cone Kirby. There's also a vending machine. There's a scissor lift. There is my favorite, which is Water Balloon Kirby, where he just sucks up a whole bunch of water, gets real jiggly, and can shoot it out at people. One of the issues, though, is a lot of times when Kirby eats these things, he doesn't cover them completely. So it's just sort of Kirby's like a bit of cellophane stretched over something.
Yeah, cellophane. That's what I was thinking, too, of course.
Cellophane Kirby.
Yeah.
That he's then able to use whatever he's sucked up.
Latex Kirby.
Yep. My favorite part whenever you suck up one of these things is like it shoots out the back of him, which is like you get a giant car coming out of the back of Kirby's pink, and it's a little distressing.
I just like that Kirby is basically a wrap on the car.
Yeah.
Like
But
someone.
he still has eyes.
Yeah.
He still has eyes and his little hands and feet.
His feet dangling off these things is the best.
It's so funny.
His
Oh my
feet
God.
dangling off. So, what was? They're all so good. First, I want someone to get a custom car that is the Kirby car. I want someone to like have a wrap on the upper part of their car that looks like it's just Kirby.
That would be so unsafe, but if you can make the glass pink,
Yeah,
I think it would work.
if we have the technology, we can make it happen.
Do that. Yeah, if we can tin windows, we can pink windows.
Yeah, just some little legs, little arms on the side mirrors. It's just so good. I loved when he. So my favorites were definitely Car Kirby because just look at it. My goodness, Hang Glider Kirby's very good.
Oh, that one is good. I forgot about that one. But it's so weird. What is he? He just sucks up a triangle.
He sucks up an arc, like it's usually like an arch of some kind, and then he turns into a hang glider, and his stupid little leg is just dangling off the side. Dome Kirby is very funny because he just like noms onto a dome, like it, and it's always like a treasure chest, and then he finagles it with his body to open it.
So is Shelf Kirby.
Yep.
Or like live, like lockers Kirby.
Yeah.
He gloms onto like a bunch of lockers on a wall and just sort of slowly struggles until they fall backwards on top of him. Somehow that's a victory.
Yep.
Yeah.
My favorites were the ones that were the silliest. I like Stair Kirby, which just like flops forward onto things.
Yeah.
Like flops sideways to hit things. It's so funny. The light bulb, where you are like just light bulb shaped, and then there's a mouth hole, and you can see like the coil inside.
You know what's the most distressing?
Whoever designed this.
So there's a lot of distressing things about the mouthful modes. The ones that I documented. How is Kirby steering the car? Is it with his tongue?
Yes, obviously.
Does Kirby have a tongue? I've never seen Kirby's tongue.
It's in there, I think. I think Kirby's got a
I don't
tongue.
know. I've seen the inside of Kirby's mouth a lot in my life, and I've never seen a tongue.
I choose to believe that Kirby is steering the car with his tongue because otherwise it implies to me that Kirby can assume direct control of anything that his mouth is on, and that's far more distressing to me.
That's what I think.
Kirby does not appear to have a skeleton, see image to the right, or teeth. outside of the manga series and certain sprites in 2D games, he does, however, have a tongue, as evidenced by more recent games where he inhales.
All right. Kirby canonically has a tongue.
Don't Google Kirby tongue.
Kirby tongue. I think, regardless, I think Kirby assumes direct control of anything inside his mouth. So, like, if Kirby swallowed my head, Kirby would become me.
So it's Majin Buu, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. So Kirby...
They're both pink.
They are?
And squishy.
They're both bubblegum, yep, and they both eat vociferously. It's more distressing to me that... So the light bulb, importantly, is off when on the ground, and then can be turned on when in Kirby. So is Kirby bioelectric?
Yes. Does Kirby conduct electricity?
We know that Kirby can conduct electricity. This is well documented in previous games, but in this game there's no electricity power. Just implies that if you plug a light bulb into a Kirby, it's just going to turn on.
I guess like if a potato can turn on a light bulb, why not Kirby? You know?
Kirby's at least a potato.
He's potato adjacent.
There's a lot of hard questions that this game asks us to ask. Cone Kirby is also very good.
Yeah, apparently when like once Kirby takes over a cone, it becomes indestructible. It goes from some sort of slightly soft rubber to the hardest diamonds ever.
Yeah, you use Cone Kirby to break solid ground.
Yeah.
I did not see Cone Kirby being the most aggressive and powerful of the powers, but it is among them. Vending machine Kirby, also very good. I like that there was a counter for the maximum number of soda cans you could shoot. That was always very fun.
It's just an interesting bit of level design too. Like they throw in these bits where it's either a narrow doorway or a ladder or some other such thing to be like, okay, you've had your fun. You can't be a vending machine forever.
Was Pipe Kirby the most distressing Kirby?
Oh, where he just like rolls forward.
You don't like that one?
I don't like the big pipe with Kirby's mouth on it.
You don't like it when Kirby starts laying pipe?
The sad thing is Kirby's laying pipe, and then at the end he always ends up flattened.
It's true.
So this game has a story somehow?
It sure does.
A pretty intense one too, honestly.
Yeah, so Pete, why don't you give us the rundown on the story of Kirby and the Forgotten World?
There's a lot of moving pieces. So I guess I don't think I'm going to be doing it in order, so I'll just tell it as it is. So Kirby meets up with this tiny floating sprite. She flies with her big stupid ears. But it turns out that
Elfalin.
Elfin?
Name.
That's her. That's the big stupid sprite?
Elfalin.
Oh, I'm not going to even try to say that.
Okay. Elfin, that's fine.
Elfalin?
Elfalin.
Elfalin.
Elfilin.
Elfalin. Okay, I got it. Elfalin, and he's sort of, they're going through this apocalyptic, area. Everything's going fine. They're rescuing the Waddle Dees who've been captured. We don't really know by who yet. Then Elfalin gets captured by, we think, a deranged armadillo.
I love that armadillo.
He's so weird.
Silly
Turns
Dillo.
out, though,
Silly Dillo's a pervert, and I don't like him.
Yeah.
We think she's captured by Silly Dillo, but actually it's, surprise, surprise, King DDD. But then we find out, oh no, wait, it wasn't King DDD. King DDD was actually a good guy. He saves your life at a certain point, which is nice of him. But then you find out that this Forgotten Land was actually a large scientific facility that when Space Moth came, all the humans teleported away. Space Moth taught them how to teleport. And then Space Moth took over the animals and used the Waddle Dees to generate electricity. Basically, they had to run on treadmills. You then have to confront Space Moth to free the Waddle Dees and break the mind control over the animals.
Who you have just been murdering this whole time.
Yeah.
Yes. Turns out they've been mind controlled by Space Moth.
At the point you were at, did you get any of that? Did you already know all that?
So I got to the fire level, so I don't believe I was at the revelation that Elfalin is actually half of Fecto Elphalus, the
Space Moth.
space moth that
Yeah.
I would describe as Mewtwo.
Yeah, basically.
That's accurate.
It's a big floating psychic thing that is mind controlling people. And it appears Elfalin, the tiny little chibi Navi character, and Fecto Forgo, some sort of horrible flesh monster that lives in a test tube, are the two halves of the same space beast that wants to take over the world. And so you need to beat down your buddy.
Basically. And then Space Moth sort of calls in meteor strikes, and you fight. And then Elfalin sacrifices herself to prevent Space Moth from crashing planet Popstar, Kirby's homeworld, into the Forgotten Land. But turns out she's fine.
But how does Kirby do it? How does this important?
So if you thought the car stressed the limits of Kirby's elasticity, I
No
have
pun
good
intended.
news for you. He swallows an entire 18-wheeler and drives on falling buildings until he just rams straight into Space Moth.
Incredible
That's
stuff.
the whole thing. Yep.
And like you get all this story in like, I don't know, the last 10% of the game.
Yes.
There's no indications of any of this before that.
hmm
Great.
You are meeting pieces of the Beast Pack, which are like the thing Elfalin's alter ego is controlling. But until you go to like the secret lab Discovera, that is where you get like some narration that tells you basically what's going on. And that's like the last level. And then final boss.
Yes. I maintain Silly Dillo was not being mind controlled. He is just, as Gino said, a
No.
pervert.
He was just down to clown.
That's
Silly
it.
Dillo has 3 different Kirby body dolls that he has put together and is dangling from the roof of his den.
Mm-hmm.
And he just wants to put you in a little cage.
Yeah, he also has a robotic dance partner of some sort.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
like a puppet dance part. He's got a body pillow thing that he dances with.
Silly Dillo is deranged.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most disturbing thing in the entire game.
Yes. In a game that's has some weirdly disturbing bits for a Kirby game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Wow.
like this is the closest Nintendo could ever get to like a gritty reboot of Kirby. Like still super cute, super whimsical, but you know, maybe some weirdness on the back end.
Yeah.
I would like to see the Dark Knight version of a Kirby game.
Well, it's this
Right.
game except mouthful mode is a gun.
Gun
If
Kirby.
If
Gun
Kirby
Kirby.
inhales a gun, what would happen?
You look at as long as the barrel points out, I think we're fine. Though this game, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the bullets somehow caused you to double jump or something.
So Kirby canonically is an alien then, from Planet Popstar.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes.
Is Kirby the only Kirby?
No, Meta Knight's a Kirby
Meta Knight
Meta
is also
Knight's
a
a Kirby?
Kirby.
Why doesn't Meta Knight eat things?
because Meta Knight
He
committed to
has
the
a
way of the
mask.
blade.
Yeah.
The Meta Knight sword is pretty OP in this game.
hmm It's one of the best upgrades.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Meta Knight just like ate one of the sword people once and was like, "This is my identity now."
Yeah.
Um,
Why would you
so,
need anything else?
so you said there's a post game where you're collecting souls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the post game.
sure. I took the plot, you take the post game.
Okay. Basically, the post game is I think it's identical to the pre-game, except you're doing a bunch of collecting of souls. Because Leon,
Yeah, it's some lion with like some extra bits on the end.
Leongar, Yeah, his soul gets like split up, and you have to go around to all the places that you went through in the pre-post game.
In the game.
In the actual game, yes. And get the souls back. And then at the end of that, you fight Fecto Forgo, which then becomes Fecto Elphalus, which is the ultimate life form, which is a weird, I don't even know how to describe it. And then
hot Mothra is the term.
Yeah.
I use.
Yeah. I don't know how hot it is. And then
I'm just saying, compared to traditional Mothra, much more shapely.
Fair enough. And then you fight Morpho Knight, which is like Meta Knight except kind of a butterfly theme. That's pretty mean.
Is it after Morpho Knight that you fight just like Chaos at some point?
Oh shit, yeah, that was in there too.
Chaos Elphalus.
It's a 7-stage boss fight, basically.
Yeah, there's so much in that last fight. Fecto Elphalus, let's see. Phase 1, Phase 2. Oh, no, this is just the pre-game version. Doesn't have the guide that explains all of the other ones.
Chaos Elphalus. Man, this is some Sonic the Hedgehog, like Sonic Adventure shit.
There's a lot.
The ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Exactly.
But you get Moth Knight's sword after you win the fight, which is the real sort of best ability in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
And then you can do all the arena fights.
They didn't need to go this hard.
They didn't, but they did.
Yeah, they really did. Like I said, I think this is maybe the best Kirby game I've ever played, despite the small number of powers.
You know, this is the type of game I can get behind. Like, the fundamentals are incredibly solid. The game design, incredibly solid. There's fun little goofs in Waddle Dee Town. And then the story just goes off the rails at the end for no good reason, except because it's awesome. Shut up. Why not? See, this is how anime off the rails should work. You know, what if instead of the game being brutal and annoying, it was just fun? It was just a good time. And then at the end, I don't know, Mewtwo attacks you.
Yeah.
It's tight too, right? Like, I don't think maybe a little bit with Kirby 64, but very seldom do you play a Kirby game that overstays its welcome.
Yes.
Like, you have fun, you have your different abilities if you want to mix things up, and if you decide you really want to stick around, you got all that extra stuff to find if you want to. Like, Kirby games know how long you want to be Kirby.
Yeah. I mean, I felt a little bit just because there's like time trials you can do. There's like the other, like, use the hammer against this run of bosses. Those sorts of things. I was like, I don't care about all this. So I just didn't do it.
I did appreciate that the time trial, the payout for doing the time trial and in like the perfect time is like 50 coins, which is nothing.
Yeah.
So it's really just pride. There's no good reason to do it.
Yeah, I did like 2, and then I was like, they're just going to give me coins every time. I can collect, 500 coins when I go through a level. I'm not going to do it. But for those who want to 100% it, they'll be at it for probably a while, because some of those are kind of hard.
There are. There's also like 1 million little figurines to collect. I completely stopped caring about those.
The thing with the little figurines is, I don't know how iconic any of the other people are. Like, you got Kirby, you get your Meta Knight, and then like...
Yeah. Do I need Chitara? Like,
I found Waddle Dee number 55. You could collect all those.
There's 4 vending machines worth. There's like 200 and some, I think. 250 maybe.
Jesus, really?
I think so.
That's too many.
It's a lot, and I didn't spend a lot of coins on the little capsules. But I did enjoy Kirby getting a capsule of just like, oh yeah, that's that time I deep-throated a filing cabinet. Awesome. Let me look at this up close, spin it around.
I would like to relive this memory.
This moment of triumph.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's it for Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. It's a while, I didn't expect to have to collect souls in a Kirby game. The Dark Souls of Kirby.
Yep.
I think, Pete, that means it is your turn to pick once again.
Ooh,
It is.
Wait. Hold on.
Ooh.
I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
I don't know. You guys probably didn't play the co-op for this game.
No, I didn't. I wanted to.
There is a co-op mode you can do, and the second player plays as Bandana Waddle Dee.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Who
the toughest
just-
Waddle Dee.
Yeah, who just has a spear and just throws it at people. And that's the whole thing. It's very, one-sided. I did not play it. I just watched some streamers do it. But seems like, if you got someone else to play along, they can handle, ranged combat. And Kirby can focus on being a water balloon or something else.
So, this is not the first Kirby game with co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Which Kirby co-op is your favorite style? Like, I think somewhere there's another Kirby, somewhere you can just spit out powers. Like, the second player becomes the power that Kirby consumed and just has that character model with all of its moves.
I don't know enough about Kirby co-op.
I won't act like I have extensive knowledge, but I did play Kirby co-op on the original, maybe not the original, one of the SNES versions. And the way that one worked was the Kirby spit out powers. And I always liked that setup.
I loved, in that, I think it was Kirby 3, there was a plasma power where Kirby could, charge up Kamehameha style and shoot laser beams. And if you were spat out as the second player into that character model, it could fly. So you were actually more functional than Kirby would be.
You are all about UFO Kirby.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Full
the best
3D control.
Mm-hmm.
Shoots laser beams.
Maybe this will get a DLC with more powers, and they'll add UFO Kirby.
We can only hope.
That'd be a good DLC.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pete, it is now your turn to pick.
It is my turn to pick. And the whole time I was playing Kirby in the Forgotten Land, my only thought was, I wish there were more Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Vikings are having a bit of a moment right now. That
there's a
movie.
show.
Yeah, there's a show. There's a movie. It might be out. I don't know.
The one with
Skarsgård.
Alexander Skarsgård playing basically his vampire character, but before he was vampired.
Wait, is that
from True
is
Blood?
That canonical?
No.
Oh, I would have been down for that.
It's basically Hamlet, I think. It's like a revenge story.
Oh.
Regardless, setting Skarsgård aside just for the moment. He's no Michael Fassbender, so I'm not interested in him. We're going to play Song of Iron for our next game. It's sort of a little side-scrolling. It's got some roguish elements to it. But you play a Viking on a quest for revenge.
Okay.
Song of Iron.
Yep.
I see. Yes, this looks like a Viking, and okay, this looks a little. Okay, it's 3D. I was gonna say it looks a little Guacamelee-ish, but it does not. In fact, wow, this looks pretty good.
I aim to please.
It's 3D-ish.
Yes.
It's 3D-ish. 3D environments, but mostly looks side-scrolly.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
No elves, no vor. I apologize, but
not that we know of.
That's a good point. There might be. Let's hope.
We'll have to see.
This Viking
Fingers
is tiny,
crossed.
and the people around them seem bigger, so we can always hope. All right. Well, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, this was a nice little adventure in the land of Kirby. I always enjoy going back.
Thank you, Em.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to spend some time being a little pink Kirby, whatever a Kirby is.
And thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. Till next time. Oh, wait, and also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.
Gino, I have put something for you in the Game of the Week channel.
Oh, no.
Per our earlier discussion.
Are you accosting me? What is...
I looked up Kirby
Costed.
What'd you get, Gino?
It's Kirby with the meat and... I'll just show you. Just copy. Add reaction. Thumbs up. Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
Check this shit out. Put it in chat. Boom. Enjoy.
Ta-da.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's just like, it looks like Wagyu or something. It looks like they ruined a nice steak.
They did.
Yep.
I would put chat. Do you want to see this monstrosity, or do you already have access to the Discord? In which case, I'm sorry.
That looks like a nice Kirby dish too. I would use that to like hold candies and things.
But instead, it's just flesh.
Full of meat.